Recording in.
Welcome to 4-H Shooting Sports and Shooting Better Scientifically. Let's get started with this lesson. Ready? Oh, phone. Ready? Need our phone? What's it registering at now?
Just us talking is between 40 and 60
You wanna show 'em
decibels.
what you're looking at?
We have a decibel meter on the phone. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
All right, here we go.
71.3.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, I gotta hold the phone this time. Just for honest.
Maybe I had my hand over the microphone.
I don't know, right? Because earlier when we practiced.
It was way higher than that.
Oh. I think I got my mini whistle out. We are at the same one.
Okay.
Kind of interesting. So, very, very cool. So, Chandra, question for you. Do you believe that the whistle is a safe sound for your ears?
I think that all depends. That's my answer. It depends.
Are you just jumping ahead in the lesson? She is, she's jumping ahead in the lesson.
Well, she asked me the question, so.
I know, right? It's like, why did I do that? Well, let's get started formally now that we've seen how to begin the lesson with you. What are we talking about today?
So we get to talk about the sound factor today and where and when we should make sure that people are using ear protection when they are observing shooting sports and shooting at shooting sports. So this is a fun one we're going to do. We're going to talk about personal safety as our life skill and the healthy living mission mandate from National 4-H Council.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Chandra Plate. I'm a K-State 4-H shooting sports specialist and the Northwest Area 4-H specialist in Kansas.
Hi, Tammy Stewart from Nebraska 4-H volunteer, and very blessed to be able to lead the level 3 coordinators on their mission to train coordinators across 4-H shooting sports in the nation. And then Nebraska 4-H ambassador advisor is one of my great roles in addition to what I do at the county levels. So this really will move, right?
Well, oh, you have to go down here.
I think we're frozen.
I think if you go down right next to it, right there, try that. Oh, nope.
Yeah, like what's going on? And a slideshow. Is our slideshow over? I'm so sorry. Let's try this again. Thank you for all of your grace. Okay, let's try this again. We're right here, right?
It appears that all the slides are on the slideshow.
Well, I think we're going without slideshow potentially. This is crazy. Like, why can we see it and they can't? Let's try it this way. Okay, something is going on. This is a little insane. So let's do some video editing before this goes up on Facebook. All right, so we're just gonna talk from something different. We don't know if it's the PowerPoint or user error, probably. Let's try that. Okay, at least we got the lesson plan up. So now that you know who we are, what we're doing today, Chandra talked about the life skill that we always take from the Iowa Life Skills Targeting Life Skills Model. So you can read the definition there. And then as a reminder that this is always about the youth. So, and then the success markers for those of you that either want to tell parents how things are going, how donors are going, maybe to your county extension staff, your state 4-H coordinator, we have your success markers set up. So the success markers are on the healthy lifestyles. What we expect to see if you do this lesson is youth will prevent hearing loss by wearing ear protection. So pretty observable. You can see it there.
Right.
Using the ear protection. But what do we want to like to see?
We want them to identify at what distance is safe from a shot to not wear hearing protection so that they can protect their hearing. So they need to do an experiment to figure that out.
Yeah. And then we want them to present that scientific data back to the club of where hearing protection should or shouldn't be required on the range and what they think of that by the scientific data that they collect. And then personal safety is the life skill. And this one, we gave you a few examples to go with it. So you can see on that first one where they're identifying dangerous situations, right? Using the decibel meter that I have on my phone, and you can use your phone or if you have a different one. But we want them to record that data prior to, during, and then after the shot so they can really see that comparison. And then like to see.
So we want them to be planning personal strategies to avoid the danger of being exposed to high decibels. So they might choose earmuffs over earplugs, or they might make sure that they do a lesson for younger youth on how to wear earplugs and how important that is.
And then if you see the love to see, it's really getting them involved in your range rules involving hearing protection. And we know that youth who contribute and are generous are more likely to be successful, tying into the whole 8 essential elements that lead to belonging, generosity, independence, and mastery, right? And so we want them to help make those range rules about keeping the community safe when it comes to hearing protection. So this lesson plan that we're looking at now is what you'll be able to find online with the recording of this. So, yeah. So we just set up the range as normal, right?
Yes. You set up your range as normal, and then you would talk to the youth about what a decibel is. What is a decibel, Tammy?
So a decibel is, sorry, I'm like gonna go straight to the lesson plan. I'm gonna back up for a minute. We do have the app on the lesson plan.
Oh, yes.
And the slides that we're using, but please know we're not endorsing that. It's whatever app you want to use. And so that shows that.
And you'll probably want for this experiment, if you're doing it in the way that we set it up in this lesson, you will probably want to use, have all you use the same app for decibels in order to measure them so that they're all using an equal measurement tool. And a different experiment that you could do with is have them download different decibel apps, decibel measurement apps, and see if there's any difference between the apps and the measurements.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So that could be a step further than this, what we're showing you here
So
today.
before we put this online, let's add that to number 13 of different ideas here.
Okay.
So remind me over lunch. So yeah, so you start by then explaining a decibel. Decibels, and we obtain the information from the CDC. So that is our source for this lesson. And so sounds below 70 are generally safe, and sounds above 85 can start causing hearing loss generally.
Right.
And just a reminder, if you haven't already done the hearing lesson on how the frequencies you can hear, that is available to you, but it's about the hairs in your ears that catch the sound, and those disappear and they're not regenerated, and that's what causes hearing loss. So yeah, sounds above 85. Which the whistle, safe or not?
It depends on where you were sitting. If you were close, it was above 70 when Tammy and I were sitting close to each other. So probably not quite safe with the whistle the way it was. Now, if she would have been able to blow it as loud as she did earlier, it was above 80 then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was above 80.
And so I don't know why it didn't blow like that this time, but
because I'm out of air, I don't know. So the hot air's gone. So then what you want to do is walk the young people, or at number 4, through the science experiment. on hearing protection and distance. So that's what you're gonna be measuring. So you're gonna use 3 people that will have their phones with the Sound Meter app. And this first experiment, you'll definitely want them to have the same app. So we are controlling variables. And then ask the young people, what 3 distances do you think we should have the sound meters from the whistle? So you're certified in rifle and shotgun, right?
Yes,
And so, if you were on the range answering those questions as a youth, what are the distances that you would suggest for those disciplines?
oh, that's a good question, because I don't know that.
And I think you're gonna want one like right there, right? Like
right.
we're in a coaching position and being that close. And then
Right,
I'm trying to think like how, like when we were at the shotgun training last month for leaders. I walked out without hearing protection and I realized I got a little too close and I bet I was 20 feet. So I'm thinking I want to go beyond 20 feet
right.
for one of them.
And two, it depends on the atmosphere in which you're shooting.
Mhm.
So that makes a difference as well as to the decibels. And so that's why it's important for your youth to help measure this as well.
Yeah. I would think on the BB gun range, I'm probably going like 135 or like at the gun or shoulder, right? So maybe on point. And then maybe I wouldn't go over 10 feet per BB gun. Cause I think you're just gonna pick up chatter and air vents and
Right.
stuff like that going. But for 22 rifle, probably kind of that on target 10, 20 maybe.
At least.
And I mean,
Yeah,
they can
so-
rerun the experiment at different ones too, to give everybody a chance to participate.
And again, you're using the experiential learning model, which is on our slide that we can't show you. But basically the 3 steps that you need to remember about the experiential learning model are do, reflect, and apply. So first they'll do this experiment where they're measuring the sound at different distances. Then they'll talk about it and what they learned, and then they'll apply it to other things.
So, so that's why we're starting with a whistle. So you blow the whistle, the first time around. And so as you can see here, and then you move the experiment, to recording. And so you're gonna want the young people to have a column of how many feet. And then another column to record the decibels that your measurers are reporting out to the whole group. So they have the same information. And then we go to number 8, where you, based on the information gathered, let's try that experiment again. And now we're bringing that firearm and that bow onto the range that they kind of practice that experiment. And so they should have some success and some confidence, because we definitely want them to have confidence leading into it. And so you go the 3 distances again. It doesn't have to be the same as what they chose for the whistle. It can be different. And then this is probably the big one, and really hitting on the love to see of the personal safety. And that is, it's time to break them into groups, right, without adults. And have them brainstorm and come back with recommendations of where on our range should we have ear protection. I'm a very visual person. And so I'm probably gonna want them to draw out, like, this is where the targets are, this is where the firing line, this is where the parents sit. This is where our waiting area before we go up. So I'd probably have them draw that out. How would you do it when you're teaching this?
I like them to actually, if there's enough students, for them to stand at the different places. So this person represents this distance, this person represents that distance. And so it gets them moving and really involved physically with the activity as well as. So that's one of the ways that I would probably divide it out, for them to represent the different distances. And you could see what's going on with the sound based on the decibel meters at that distance while they're standing there. So
I love the movement that you put
So-
into that. I think that movement would be great. I always go to Yeah, the thinking brain drawing paper, so thanks for making it extremely experiential. So, so then the groups present those recommendations that we just discussed. And then the next part is we put together a slide for you, which you can see it on this lesson plan at least, even if we can't see it on the other one. And it shows the decibels. And so then you just talk about, normal conversation is 60 to 7 decibels. We're quiet. Because today when we've been measuring, we've been between that 20 to 40. Keeps telling us that we're like mosquito sounds. So it's been kind of fun to read that. And then go over the lawnmowers, the motorcycles, the music through the headphones. That one's kind of scary to me.
Yeah, because youth like to use their headphones a lot for music. And I think that one actually can have a lot of practical application when it comes to personal safety as well. For them to be able to relate that back to apply that. So that comes into the applied part of your lesson where they're actually looking at something else and going, maybe the decibels on that are too high as well.
Absolutely. And so then after you go over these, you would say, based off of what you see here, what would you recommend that hearing protection be used outside of 4-H shooting sports and activities? And the debrief that we chose today was to share your highlight and insight from our experiment today. So our planning on this, what was your highlight and insight from this?
My highlight was actually finding the CDC research on this. That was actually very interesting to peruse through and glean from. And my insight is that you're really, as the youth are doing this experiment and learning to apply it in different situations, even in shooting sports, if they're setting up a range and saying, okay, we maybe are sending our parents too close to the range if they're not wearing hearing protection. And so it's also giving them that element of generosity. And I think that's my favorite insight, is that they're actually going to be thinking about other people and how other people's health is affected by it as well as their own. So
I think going away from this, my highlight was definitely the CDC research. And when you found that was really exciting to me. My insight on this one was the earphones, right? And just, wow, I think of like the young people and how they blast the music to like block everybody else out. And that kind of freaks me out where they're at. So I'd really like them to measure their earphones and what's coming out of there if that's possible.
good idea.
So
Good
then they know where to
application.
set that. So, all right. So that is the lesson that we have to share with all of you on how to incorporate the mission, mandates, and life skills into your 4-H shooting sports program. And at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for discussion.
So rule says safe sound pressure levels depend on whether the shooting range or firing point is indoor or outdoor. Indoor shooting ranges require ear protection even when the recipient is far from the firearm, and that makes sense to us, as does our experience with that. So
Yeah. And I agree with you on the indoor shooting ranges, Raul, that they're potentially more dangerous. I just found it really interesting how we did the whistle blast out in the dining room. And then we did it in here, and I'm trying to figure out that difference. Is it really me as the blower, or is it the room?
I don't know.
Like, I just keep thinking about how like this can lead to so many more ideas for the
Right.
youth to go conduct those experiments. And the great thing is, yes, with shooting, we want them to do that. But we also know you need to be with a coach, right, to be shooting for 4-H. But just the simple act of using the whistle. I mean, they can go repeat this anywhere.
Right.
So,
Rick says you should include the CDC data about instant hearing loss. 85 decibels is a threshold for extended exposure. Firearms reach levels that cause instantaneous hearing loss. And we did include that data. on the slides, but we couldn't show you the slides today. So, but yes, you are correct. And youth need to know that part of it is that 85 can be instant hearing loss as well.
I think I want to try to bring up the slides again because those were just pretty cool. So give me a second here and let's see if we can actually make this happen.
Either way, if we can't make our slides come up, they will be posted online with this lesson, so you'll be able to access them.
So maybe if I just don't go to slideshow, right? Will that help?
Yeah, you can see them this way.
So there's the experiential learning model that we walked you through in the lesson. And then the decibel. So yeah, we weren't. But this is the big slide, right, that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Where you talk about the decibels and yeah, but it's sometimes that single loud one, and sometimes
Right.
it's that repeated exposure. And you don't know. It's dependent upon the person and the sound and a lot of different factors.
and there is repeated exposure on a firing range, because there's always multiple shots fired.
And it's not just
So-
from your own firearm, it's from
Right.
all the people around you too. So, all right, let's see what else is in the chat. Anybody want to talk today? We'd love to hear from you. Oh, that's a good one. Other items to test, a kazoo, portable PA system. Those are really good.
Yeah,
Most people know by now, I'm kind of a Garth Brooks fan. On his show, he was talking about people that bring babies to his shows. And he's like, oh, I really hope you brought them ear protection. But I even know that my grandson wears earmuffs when he's at rodeos because of sound systems.
oh, wow.
Yeah. And I haven't seen that. So, and my daughter, yeah, I won't. Yeah. Anyway, she's a good mom, but she's not that overprotective mom, but she realizes the importance of hearing. So, and then I definitely think then going into experiments around, do you wear muffs? Do you do earplugs? And then inserted properly.
Yes, yes, that's another whole lesson is how to properly insert an earplug. And whether earplugs or earmuffs or earplugs with earmuffs are best. There's a whole lesson there as well. So
So a lot of great fair exhibits that people could put together to make people aware of protecting your hearing in 4-H shooting sports.
yeah.
Any last thoughts before we turn off the recording and go to a second shot?
Yeah, hey, Tammy and Chandra, this is Darren Snyder.
Hi,
and-
Darren.
Hi, hey, thank you again for another great presentation here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. That's a bummer. But I do want to just share a couple observations. One is that I did download one of these meters. They're like a billion of them that we could choose from for the freebies. And I just had it running as you were talking. And it was interesting because it's reading really high. It looks like an average of 63 decibels with a maximum of 90 in just hearing from you and just having it next to the computer, which is at a normal level. So I don't know if this one, so it's a good tip, like you're talking about, check out the different meters, see how they respond, because this one seems like it's reading really high. Just wanted to share that observation. And then also, I know that I always run into with my case that I have, my protective case on my phone, always messes up when I try and do, unless I take my phone out of the case when I'm trying to do speaker phone. And so that might also affect the reading too, that I was thinking of, as we're trying to, be consistent with our measurements and stuff. So I just want to share those
Great.
observations.
Really
Great
good.
points.
Really good points. If you have a huge discrepancy between youth who are using the same decibel meter, you may want to have them take the cases off of their phones and see if they can get a closer reading to each other and keep more of the variables the same.
Mhm.
So awesome.
Very cool. Other thoughts or comments? Judy, yes, there is a way to calibrate. I know the sound meter that I have, it actually asked me about calibrating. And so, yes, there is a way to calibrate that. And then, of course, you could always calibrate too by comparing it to if you actually have the sound meter that you hold in your hand. So. All right, I'm going to pause.